All right, hello and welcome to the Final Whistle podcast. Today, I am Bobby Addison and I'm joined by Harry McBain once again. And today we have Mr. Matthew Selt, professional snooker player, who is on stage to talk with us about Aston Villa. So just to start off the first question, what was it as a kid that, introduced you into becoming a football fan and, who sort of inspired you when you were younger?
Yeah, I think like many kids, I grew up playing football at a young age. And then the support in the Aston Villa part came when my dad took me to the League Cup final when Aston Villa played Man United. I wasn't a fan of either, but I was a bit of a glory hunter. And then when Aston Villa beat Man United, I kind of thought, yeah, this team will do me. And they were doing all right in the Premier League as well at that time.
Very nice.
I thought, yeah, so I've stuck with them. And now they're doing terribly.
And who, obviously you said they're a bit of a glory hunter and decided to follow Aston Villa. Did you have any players that you really enjoyed watching football as you grew up, and players you like watching?
I used to go to West Ham. I used to have a season ticket at West Ham before that. My granddad used to take me over there, and there was players like Julian Dix, Ludic McCloskey. He was the goalkeeper. Just people from West Ham, really. But then when I went to the cup final, it was the first time I really saw, the great players of that era play, and Dwight York was my hero. A bit further along, so it was just, to be fair, it was just everyone around about that time. Cantona, he come on the scene. There was loads of people, but I had a soft spot for Aston Villa after they beat Man United, and so they were the main players, really, just all the Villa players. And a couple of years ago, I got to meet Dwight York, so that was really nice because he was one of my childhood heroes.
Oh, that's brilliant.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah. And obviously, you said a little bit before about when you were younger, your dad was introducing you to football. Could you, apart from maybe when you beat Man United, what were your earliest memories as a football fan, and maybe your fondest memory from when you were growing up?
Yeah, as a football fan, like I say, I went to watch West Ham quite a bit before I supported Aston Villa, so I used to go over there regular.
All right.
Yeah, so it was quite nice. I remember going there of an evening game. My dad took me once versus Oldham, West Ham Oldham. That was probably my earliest memory. I think West Ham won 4-1 or 4-2. Yeah, it was a really long time ago now, but it was my first introduction to football, and I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, and you said there your dad took you to the cup final. So was he I presume he's Aston Villa fan as well?
No, he's a Tottenham fan.
Tottenham fan, or is it just to go to the cup final?
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah, like I say, they were doing all right in the Premiership that year, and when the two teams got to the final, I said to my dad, "Oh, it's something that I'd like to go to just to watch." And I went there, and we had tickets quite near the front, which obviously wasn't very good for a football match, being a young lad. And obviously the old Wembley, you were miles away if you were sitting behind the goals, and that's where we were sat. And we made the best of a bad situation, but it was nice to see that final. And Aston Villa dominated it, and I started supporting them from that day.
A good game to be a neutral at then.
Yeah, it was a great game to be a neutral at. It was nice to see, both sets of fans coming together, the chanting. There wasn't much trouble back then. So yeah, being a neutral fan at that particular game was really nice.
Brilliant.
And obviously, you mentioned there about you growing up a Liver fan. Aston Villa fan. And so as you've been watching them over the years, who could you say, out of your experience, is your favourite you've seen wearing a Villa shirt, and maybe the most iconic from what you can remember?
Definitely Dwight York. He was my childhood hero. He scored so many goals. He was such a massive player for the club. That was the era that I most enjoyed watching football because I was playing it as well at the time. As you get older, you just enjoy supporting them rather than playing it. So yeah, the team of that era, late 90s, were my favourite players. I go over and I watch quite a bit now, because I know some of the players, which is nice. But being a football fan as a child and watching them players play was great. So yeah, definitely Dwight York, Savo Milosevic, Tommy Johnson, loads of players. I could name Steve Staunton, Bosnich. I couldn't pretty much go through the whole team. They're all greats, especially being a kid. You don't really appreciate how good people are. You just admire what they're doing, and yeah, the whole team was great.
And obviously this season, Villa, current time of recording, so there might have been fixtures in between when this actually gets released. The 9th in the table, got more points than you did last season already. Yeah. What are your thoughts so far on this season?
I think it's taken time for the manager to settle down and get a good team that's playing some good football. Obviously, Grealish is a massive part of the club. He's taking it forward. I remember speaking to John Terry a few years ago because I didn't really rate Grealish, and he said he's the only player in the team that could, step up to the next level, and he's done that. He's captained the team and he's taken them to football that we haven't seen for a few years there. I think that Smith needed a bit of time to settle down. He's settled down. He's got on playing good football, and there's been some good additions to the team. I think we're quite lucky to be ninth. It's a good place for us to be, and if we can build on that, it would be amazing to get into Europe, which would be the dream.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a Forest fan, so I was quite annoyed when you took Matty Cash for right back, but we got a decent amount of money for it. And you've also got, or how important do you think, obviously you got Watkins as well, those summer signings were for building on the next step?
Yeah, Watkins was massive. We were lacking last year creating chances and scoring goals. Lacking the chances, I think, because Grealish didn't really have a man up front that he could fire to. But they've clicked really well. Grealish, Watkins, and a few of the other boys there, and they're playing some really good football and creating lots of chances. It's you could see from Grealish being away the other day, they didn't really, they won 1-0, and there wasn't really that much threat without Grealish, I don't think. But when he's playing and the other lads are, they're all putting their shift in. A very dangerous team. Scored 7 against Liverpool earlier in the year when Van Dijk was playing as well. So, when everyone's playing together, I think this is a good mixture of players.
Yeah.
I definitely agree. And I think, Jack Grealish is probably one of the most talked about players in the league at the minute. So maybe, in your opinion, where do you think he sits among the best players in the league? And could you see him, staying at the club if he did get an offer from a bigger club, but a Man City or a Man United, or statistically clubs that are more likely to sign the in-hype players because they have the funds to do that?
I mean, in relation to how good he is in the league, I don't really follow. It's going to sound ridiculous. I don't really follow too many other clubs and follow football that much in depth. You've obviously, I know most of the players like De Bruyne from City and all the top players in the league, and I think it's safe to say he's slightly behind them. But for Aston Villa, he's a massive part of the team. As far as going, should he sign for another club? I think he's earned his dues to take the next level of football if he gets an opportunity to do that. I don't think many Villa fans could be pretty sour if he left. Like I say, he's paid his dues. He's got us up from the other division. He's playing great football, and he's probably the main reason why we are in the table. So, if he up and left, I think it would be a challenge that he would personally need to take on rather than let it pass him by like a few of the other players that have been before him. I don't think he's in the class of Steven Gerrard, but that lad spent his whole life at Liverpool and never won the league, and that must hurt him definitely.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, and with the current league position, I think because the way that the season's happened with fixtures being called off because too many in the squad have had COVID or whatever, and you've got 2 games in hand at the moment, and if you win them, you could be pushing into around 5th, which is obviously Europa League. Do you think that's a realistic finish this season that you could achieve with all the teams that are competing up there?
I mean, never say never. Leicester, look at what Leicester done a few years ago. Obviously, they come from absolutely nowhere to win in the league. So I definitely think if Villa keep doing what they're doing and playing the way they're playing, that 5th, 6th is a real possibility. They're going to need teams to falter, and they're going to have to take all the points they possibly can. But I don't see why they can't. At some point, Villa will get back into Europe and will get challenging for the league, whether it be 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 50 years. They will get there. So, it will happen eventually. So, yeah, it's definitely a possibility.
Yeah, and also because of Aston Villa, they're a huge club in England. One of the 5 clubs to win the European Cup. I think this sort of teams that have this history. Maybe I say I'm an Arsenal fan. Obviously, we have the history. That's why there is quite big expectations on clubs of that because they're traditional big clubs in the country. So I think realistically, do you think the squad should be aiming for European places, or do you think maybe it could be, a couple more years before it's probably possible?
I mean, obviously, the way to attract bigger and better players is to offer European football and to offer people something tasty on the menu, if you want to put it that way. And
yeah,
I think by getting into Europe, of course, they should be aiming for that because if they get there, it'll attract more people. the game will become more interesting, and I think they could go further and climb higher. Get more investment and stuff that way. And yeah, definitely they should be aiming for fifth and sixth. You got to have a goal. You got to have a vision of what you're doing. Obviously, they're not going to win the league because they're miles off. They can't even challenge for that. But their goal should be trying to finish fifth or sixth. Is sixth place get Europa?
Yeah, I think so.
I think it depends on who wins the cups.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, of course, that's exactly what they should be aiming for, because what's the point of keep playing if you're just going to keep finishing 8th, 10th, 12th, 15th? I'd rather be in a relegation battle than finish in the middle, because you're just not playing for it. There's no enjoyment. The games become dead and void, and that's the worst thing you can watch in a football game.
Yeah, that's very true.
Definitely. And Villa are one of the 5 English clubs to have actually won a European Cup or the Champions League, whatever you want to call it. As a Forest fan, we've got 2. I don't know how many Arsenal have, Bobby, but
2 less than you.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's
unfortunate.
How important do you think it is for the club's history, and especially for bringing in players that you've got these European titles in your history?
I mean, I don't think it's that important nowadays. I think players look for 2 things. They look for, one, financial security, lots of money. That definitely goes without saying. And they look for opportunities that are provided now, not in the past, anything like that. I think people from that area will be proud for playing for their local club. So that'll make a big part to see. Obviously, Grealish, he wouldn't be staying at Aston Villa unless he was a loyal person and he liked staying at home. That goes without saying. But obviously, the past is the past, and moving forward, I think the only way to attract these big names is by getting there and providing those opportunities. And without that, I think the club should stand still.
Yeah, and I think maybe one of the main things it does add is whenever anyone signs, they get to say, "Oh, I know all about the great history of this club," because that's the trademark line that any signings who come in, they'll always say. And we said there about if you get sixth, it depends on who wins the cups. How important do you think the cup competitions are? Obviously, they got you supporting Villa. A few of the bigger teams don't really take it that seriously. We saw Liverpool get knocked out by Villa as well the other year they played their kids. How important do you think those competitions are for smaller teams as well for fans?
Yeah, they're massive, absolutely massive. If you're not in the top 6 and you're not in a relegation battle, like I say, your games are pretty much pointless. And I think it's the cup, especially as a fan, for me from that young age, is the reason why I support Villa. Cup games are massive, and the cup should be big for all clubs, especially ones that are not challenging for league titles. I'd rather be mid-ranked or bottom of the league in the final of cups and playing for cups and be 3rd or 4th in the league and just doing nothing. I know it's a weird way to look at it, but as a fan, you want to see action-packed football. And going deep in cup competitions is always, when you're a kid, it's all you ever grew up watching. Well, you guys are a different era to me, but the FA Cup was ginormous. Now teams are making a bit of a mockery now, which is good for the smaller teams because obviously they're getting better chances of going further. So, I think they're a massive part of football.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I mean, obviously being an Arsenal fan, the FA Cup has been one that is a bit more
You've only won it
significant.
twice, isn't it? How many times have you won it?
What, the FA Cup?
No, I'm joking. You won it 7 times, 8 times?
13?
No way.
I think it is, yeah. I mean, we won about 3 in the last sort of however many years. But obviously, as you were saying about, mid-table mediocrity, I was quite disappointed, really, when we went out of the FA Cup against Southampton, because I was saying, Arteta, he's not really, we're not pushing for any sort of European Champions League spots. And then to sort of disrespect it after we did so well last year, I mean, it was beyond me, but I don't know, maybe he's going for Europa League. But yeah, as you said, the FA Cup is a really important thing. I've grown up with it, winning a few of them. So yeah, I do agree that it's really important. But anyway, just to maybe finish it off with one final little question. If you could, Aston Villa, if you could talk to Dean Smith right now and tell him to sign one player, no budget, obviously maybe slightly within reason of Aston Villa. If you could tell him to sign one player, who would it be?
No budget or within reason budget?
Well, I mean, I could say no budget, but then maybe be a bit interesting rather than just say like Messi or something,
No, I wouldn't go Messi. I'd go De Bruyne. I'd love to see De Bruyne or someone of that calibre at the club. I think he's fantastic. Someone like Haaland as well.
Obviously, that would be nice.
Agreed.
You're talking about. you're talking about people that are never going to be at the Villa in their lifetime. So
You never know. You never know.
I just think, to see someone, we're lucky to have Jack there playing so well. But, for me, the last actual superstar that we had there was probably York.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, you might well inform me of someone different because you guys have got a lot more knowledge about that. But if I could speak to Dean Smith, I say get De Bruyne and Haaland in, and let's start having some fun.
Let's get the title race on.
Absolutely.
Brilliant.
All right. Well, unfortunately, that's all we've got time for today. But thank you very much for coming on. Sorry about a few mess ups at the start with script writing and stuff like that. But
Listen, I'm just going to go and have a game of tennis now.
Oh, lovely. That's great. All right. Well, thank you for listening. Subscribe, hit the like button, whatever, turn notifications on. And that was the Final Whistle podcast.
I also just want to say before we go off, good luck for your competition.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, definitely. Good luck,
Cheers.
mate.